I never thought I'd be the guy writing a story like this, but here I am. My name's Jake, and I was with my wife Emily for about 5 years. We'd been through a lot together, or at least I thought we had. She was the kind of girl who always knew how to get her way, sharp-tongued, a little bitchy sometimes, but I loved her. Or at least I thought I did. Things started feeling off a few weeks before our engagement party. Emily had been more distant, short with me over small things, and she kept canceling plans at the last minute. She'd come up with these lame excuses, work stress, family issues, blah blah. I bought it, or at least I told myself I did. I was busy with work too, but I tried to brush it off as just a rough patch. I even accused myself of being paranoid. It's easy to doubt yourself when someone you trust suddenly acts strange. Then the night of the engagement party. Everything seemed fine at first. We were surrounded by friends, family, everyone congratulating us, and I was pretty happy. I had just dropped to one knee in front of everyone, gave her the ring, and she said yes. The moment was perfect, or so I thought. But then I started noticing her phone. Emily's always been clingy about her phone, but that night she kept hiding it whenever I got close, texting furiously, and I saw her typing nonstop. I remember joking about it, trying to act casual, but inside I was curious. Something about her even looked different, more tense, like she was hiding something. Later on, I saw her excuse herself to go to the bathroom, and I noticed her phone was still on the table, face down. I didn't think much at the time. I figured she just needed a break or was tired. But then, curiosity got the better of me. I picked up her phone when she wasn't looking. That's when I saw it. Her messages with someone named Mike. They weren't just friendly, casual texts either. There were texts about meeting up, about sex, about how much she missed him when she was busy with the wedding planning. I couldn't believe my eyes. My heart felt like it was clenching in my chest. I was frozen, staring at those messages, reading her confessing how much she wanted to see him, how she loved the thrill of sneaking around. And all this right after she accepted my proposal in front of everyone. I didn't know what to do. I was furious, but I also felt like I'd just been punched in the stomach. How could she do this? Right after I was so vulnerable, so proud of myself for finally popping the question. And Mike, he was supposed to be my best friend. I didn't suspect anything. We'd all been close, like a little family. And now I find out she's been cheating with him behind my back. It was like a sick joke. I put her phone down, my mind racing, heart pounding. I kept thinking, how could she lie so easily? How many times had she been with him? I knew I'd have to confront her, but I also knew that this wasn't just some mistake. This was betrayal on a level I'd never imagined. The next morning, I woke up feeling like I'd been hit by a truck. My head was pounding, and I couldn't get the images of those messages out of my mind. I kept thinking about her, Emily, smiling and acting perfect in front of everyone, while behind my back she was sneaking around with Mike. It was a punch to the gut I didn't see coming, and honestly, it shattered whatever trust I had left. I knew I couldn't just brush this off. I had to confront her, but I didn't want to do it right away. I needed time to think, to process what I'd seen. Over the next couple of hours, I kept going over everything. The way she'd been acting lately, the texts, the late nights. I was furious, but underneath, there was also this deep sadness. I'd never felt so betrayed in my life. I always thought I was a good guy, honest, dependable, someone Emily could count on. And now I felt like such a fool for not noticing the signs sooner. When she finally came out of the bedroom, I was standing in the living room trying to keep my cool. She looked at me, her eyes narrowing like she sensed something was wrong. I didn't waste any time. I just blurted out, "Who is Mike, Emily? And what the hell is going on?" Her face froze for a second, then she scoffed, rolling her eyes. "What are you talking about? You're imagining things, Jake. You're just insecure. I don't know what you're jealous of, but I swear there's nothing going on." I didn't buy it, not for a second. I looked her straight in the eyes and said, "I saw your messages. Don't lie to me. I know about the sex, about the meetings. How long has this been going on? Were you ever even serious about me?" She crossed her arms, smirking. "Oh, please, you're making a big deal out of nothing. Mike's just a friend. We're just talking, maybe hanging out. It's not what you think. You're so paranoid, Jake. Honestly, I don't have time for your insecurities." That was when I saw the bitchiness in her tone, the way she dismissed everything I was feeling. She always had a way of twisting things around, making me doubt myself, turning her lies into truths. But I wasn't going to let her get away with this. I told her I knew she'd been lying, that I had the messages, and that she could stop lying to herself. Her reaction was even more infuriating. She just scoffed and said, "You're overreacting. I didn't cheat on you. You saw a few messages, big deal. Maybe I was just bored. Maybe I was stupid, okay? But it doesn't mean I've been sleeping with him. You're blowing it out of proportion." I was angry, hurt, and utterly confused. How could she sit there and lie so effortlessly, so brazenly? I felt my fists clenching, my blood boiling. I wanted to scream at her, to shake her, to demand the truth. But part of me was frozen, this numbness creeping in because I realized I couldn't trust her anymore, not even a little. I told her I needed time to think. She looked at me, her eyes cold now, and said, "Fine, take your time, but you're wasting your breath if you think I'll change. I don't love you the way you want. Maybe I never did." That's when I knew this wasn't just some mistake. This was something else, that she'd been planning this for a while. I felt like I was losing my mind, standing there, knowing everything I believed about her was a lie. After that confrontation, I felt like I was walking around in a fog. My mind kept replaying everything. I'd seen every word she'd said, every smirk she gave me when she thought I wasn't looking. It was like I'd been punched in the chest and then kicked while I was down. I couldn't sleep that night. My brain was racing, trying to piece together how I missed all the signs, how she could be so manipulative, so good at hiding her lies. In the days that followed, I couldn't focus at work. My friends noticed I was distant, quiet, not my usual self. But honestly, I didn't care about anything else anymore. All I cared about was figuring out what to do next. I kept going back to that moment at the party, the moment I first saw those messages, and I realized something. Trust was completely gone. I couldn't look her in the eyes without feeling like I'd been duped. How could I ever believe her again? How could I trust her to be honest, to be faithful? The foundation of our relationship felt like it had crumbled into dust. One night, I decided I needed to get some clarity. I couldn't keep living in this chaos, not knowing if she'd really been faithful or if this was just the tip of the iceberg. I wanted to hear her confession, and so I set up a plan. I knew she was sneaky, but I'd learned her tricks. I installed a hidden app on her phone just so I could monitor her messages without her knowing. It was a dirty move, I admit, but I was desperate. I needed the truth, no matter what it was. That night, I sat in the dark and watched her phone light up with messages from Mike. They'd been talking that very day, planning to meet again. There was no denying it now. She was actively cheating on me, planning to see him behind my back. My stomach turned. I felt betrayed not just by her but by myself. I'd been so blind, so trusting, and now I was faced with the reality that the woman I loved had been lying, screwing around, and probably laughing at me behind my back. I kept staring at those messages, feeling this mix of anger and heartbreak. I thought about all those dinners we'd had, the plans for our future. All that was just a front. She'd been with him the whole time. I was furious at Mike, furious at Emily, but mostly I was furious at myself for not seeing it sooner. How could I have missed all the warning signs? How could I have let her manipulate me so easily? It was all so raw and sharp in that moment, and I knew I had to confront her again, but this time I had the proof. I was planning my move, trying to figure out how I'd get through this mess without completely losing my mind. The next day, I confronted her again, this time armed with undeniable proof. I sat her down in the living room, my hands trembling slightly, but I forced myself to keep my voice steady. I laid out all the messages, showing her exactly what I'd seen. Her face twisted into this nasty smirk, like she thought she was clever, like she was untouchable. "Oh, come on," she said, rolling her eyes. "You're overreacting. It's just sex. It doesn't mean anything. You're making a huge deal out of nothing. I was bored and Mike was there. It's not like I love him or anything." That's when I snapped. I looked at her, feeling this burning rage inside, and I said, "You're such a bitch. You lied to me right in my face, and now you're telling me it's no big deal. How can you be so goddamn cold? You've been screwing around with my best friend, and you expect me to just accept it." She crossed her arms, her voice dripping with contempt. "You think I care what you want? I don't love you anymore. I don't have to explain myself to you. Honestly, I was bored with you anyway. You're too serious, too predictable. Mike's exciting. He makes me feel alive. You should thank me. You got an upgrade in bed and everything." That was the moment I realized I was dealing with a manipulative, selfish bitch. She didn't even try to deny it anymore. She wanted to hurt me, to make me feel small. I felt my stomach turn as anger boiled over. I told her to pack her stuff and get out. I told her I never wanted to see her again and that I was done. But she just laughed, that nasty smirk still plastered across her face. "Fine," she said. "If you think you're so great, go ahead, but you're just a fool. You won't find anyone better than me. And honestly, you wouldn't even know what to do with someone who actually loves you." I felt like I'd been punched again. Her words cut deeper than I expected, but I knew I couldn't let her keep tearing me down. I told her to leave, to never come back, and I watched her walk out of the door, her heels clicking on the floor. When she was gone, I finally felt like I could breathe again, but the pain was still there, this gnawing emptiness that refused to go away. For a while I just sat there, staring at the empty doorway, feeling numb. I couldn't believe I'd been so blind, so trusting that I missed all the signs until it was too late. I kept thinking about all the things I should have seen, all the warning signs I ignored. And honestly, I was angry at her, but mostly I was angry at myself for letting this happen. That day I realized how fragile trust is and how easy it is for someone to tear it apart. And once it's gone, it's almost impossible to get back. After she left, the silence was deafening. The house felt different, cold, empty, like it belonged to someone else now. I spent hours just wandering from room to room trying to process what had happened. I kept thinking about the lies she told, about how she dismissed everything I uncovered like I was just some insignificant inconvenience to her. The betrayal cut so deep I felt like I'd been gutted. It was a pain I'd never experienced before. I couldn't sleep that night. All I saw were her messages, her smirk, her words about Mike. I felt so stupid for trusting her, for ever believing she was the woman I was supposed to spend my life with. I kept replaying everything, trying to find some reason or explanation that would make sense, but there was nothing. Just that sick realization that I'd been played like a fool, her lies woven so perfectly I'd never suspected a thing. That realization turned into a decision. I was done. I knew I couldn't stay in this house, pretending everything was fine, pretending I wasn't shattered inside. I called a friend, Jake, who's known me for years, and told him everything. He came over the next day, sat with me. While I told him the whole story, I needed someone to tell me I wasn't crazy, that I wasn't losing my mind. Jake listened quietly, then said, "You gotta get out of here, man. This isn't just about her cheating, it's about your sanity. You deserve better than someone who lies and cheats on you. You need some space to breathe, think things through." That was the push I needed. I started packing up my clothes and a few essentials. I wasn't planning to move out forever, but I needed to get away from that house, from the memories, from her. I found a cheap apartment downtown and moved in a few days later. It wasn't much, but it was mine, my own space where I could breathe without feeling like I was living in a nightmare. Living alone, I finally had some clarity. I started thinking about what I wanted next. I knew I wasn't going back to Emily. No way. Trust was shattered beyond repair. At the same time, I didn't want to be that guy who gives up everything after a betrayal. I was angry, yes, but I also knew I had to learn from this. The pain. The betrayal. It was a brutal lesson in trusting the wrong person, in ignoring the red flags, in never taking love for granted. I realized I had to rebuild myself piece by piece. I started working out, focusing on my job, reconnecting with friends I'd pushed aside. I even went to therapy for the first time in my life. It helped talking about everything, letting the feelings out instead of bottling them up. I knew I'd never forget what happened, but I also knew I couldn't let it define me. I'd get through this somehow. Looking back, I've learned a lot. Trust is fragile and it can be broken in a second. But I also learned that sometimes the biggest betrayal teaches you what you really need: to stand up for yourself, to recognize red flags early, and to never let someone treat you like an option. I still feel the sting, but I'm slowly moving forward. I don't know what the future holds, but I do know I deserve better than someone who lies and cheats. That's the harsh truth I've had to accept, And honestly, it's what's kept me going. It's been a few months since everything fell apart, and honestly, I still have my days where I feel like I'm carrying a weight I can't shake. But I've come to accept that some things are just out of my control. What's done is done. I can't change the fact that Emily cheated, lied, and tore apart what I thought was my life. But I can control how I move forward from here. Living alone has been a healing process. I won't lie, trust is hard to rebuild after such a deep betrayal. I find myself second-guessing people more than I used to, more cautious about who I let into my life. But I also realize that not everyone is like Emily. There are good people out there, people who won't betray you the moment you turn your back. It's a lesson I won't forget. One thing I've learned is that you need to value yourself. I was so wrapped up in trying to make things work that I ignored the signs, the red flags. Now I see it clearly. Respect has to be mutual. If it's not, then it's not worth holding on to. I won't tolerate lies, disrespect, or manipulation. I'm done making excuses for people who don't deserve my trust. Looking back, I know I'll probably always carry some scars from this experience. But I also know I'm stronger than I was. Betrayal hurts like hell, but it also forces you to face your own worth. I've realized that I don't need someone who cheats or lies to feel complete. I can be happy on my own, even if I'm still healing. To anyone reading this who might be going through something similar, trust me, I get it. The pain feels unbearable and it's tempting to fall apart. But you have to remember your value. Don't stay in a situation where you're being disrespected or lied to. You deserve honesty, loyalty, and someone who truly cares about you. It's painful to let go of someone you loved, but sometimes that's the only way to save yourself. I don't know what the future holds, and honestly, I don't want to rush into anything. Right now, I'm focusing on rebuilding my life piece by piece. I want to be better, stronger, more cautious, but also more confident in myself. Because if there's one thing I've learned from all this, it's that even when everything falls apart, you can find a way to pick yourself up again. And that's exactly what I intend to do.